All right, I've had some time to decompress. Excuse the non-edited nature of this. I want to kind of get in while things are fresh. I don't want to spend too much time on this video, to be honest with you. I want to talk about Summer Game Fest. It was a show, right? I mean, there was nothing like crazy or bombastic about it. There was no, I mean, there were some crazy announcements, right? Resident Evil 9 was there. That's crazy, right? That's crazy enough for us. That's a big enough deal. I don't know. Like, it's really tough for me to like complain about a show. It's tough for me to like sit here and say, "Hey, that wasn't a good show." But meanwhile, there was like 5 or 6 games that I desperately want to play. It's really tough for me to be in that position. I start questioning, like, well, what am I actually doing here? Like, what am I actually criticizing? It was definitely like that going on. But if I do step back and talk about the show, like, it was a C- show. It really was. Like, the pacing was off. There wasn't enough diversity in games. The amount of Mundfish games, the amount of like Atomic Heart games that were there, the amount of like gotcha anime Genshin like games that were there was like kind of ridiculous and a little bit stupid, to be real with you. It was a little bit stupid. There was not enough diversity in the show. I'll be real. I'm not saying that I need bombastic trailers and crazy announcements. I'm not saying that I'm disappointed, that Kingdom Hearts 4 wasn't there. Yes, that would make a better show. Yes, don't get me wrong, but I'm not saying that that's what this show was missing. I'm saying that this show was missing, again, getting a little... It was missing an identity. It was missing like a flow. It was missing a natural flow that I feel like the previous years have had. I feel like the previous Summer Game Fest had that kind of energy about it. The trailers stood out a little bit more. And again, there were some great games here. I thought Ill looked disgusting. I thought Ill was a cool looking game. There was definitely like moments where I was like, oh, that does look cool. The game by the Guacamelee devs looked really cool. The co-op Lego game looked cool. The Sonic trailer, the Sonic racing game with Minecraft now, that probably had the biggest pop out of almost everything at the show aside from Resident Evil 9. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that Sonic racing is that big of a deal? I'm not going to do stinkers and winners or anything like that. I won't do that today. That's something that I do typically on this channel, is like, let's judge the whole show and let's point everything out. I want to do that when all of SGF is over. We'll judge Summer Game Fest, PlayStation, and Xbox like all together. What are the coolest and not so coolest games that we've seen throughout the whole summer event or whatever? We'll do that later for sure. This is just kind of like a checkup on Summer Game Fest. And I don't know. Like, I would give the show a C-. I would give the show a C-, but Resident Evil 9, dude. Resident Evil 9 is a real video game. And it's coming out in February, dude. It's coming out in February. And that's kind of insane. That's kind of crazy. I'm not going to lie to you. That got a pretty big reaction out of me. It really did. And no, I don't really know what's going on. No, I don't know why we're back in Raccoon City. I don't really know who we're playing as. I've heard some people saying it's like someone or someone's daughter from Outbreak. I'd never played Outbreak. I have no idea what's going on. But I dig the new protagonist. I dig a post-apocalyptic Raccoon City. That's a good idea. It's a cool trailer. I'm excited to see more. I hope we see more soon. I thought Onimusha had a stronger trailer. If Resident Evil 9 is coming out February, when is Onimusha coming out, right? Like, Onimusha, we've seen a good little chunk of that video game. And this trailer ruled, man. We're seeing villains now. I get a good sense of, like, who these characters are. Excellent showing. Absolutely excellent showing. Atomic Heart is weird, right? There were, like, weird crotch shots and ass shots and, like, weird sexy robots kind of everywhere. The weird, like, Atomic Heart, the Cube deals. Is that DLC? Is that standalone? I don't even know what that is. A lot of, like, weird, like, there was literally just a shot of some girl's crotch, man. That's weird. I mean, I don't particularly have anything against like sexuality in video games. There's nothing really. Who cares? You know, like whatever. You know, it's a thing. Sure, it's been a thing for 30 years now. But like, I don't know, just kind of felt out of place at Summer Game Fest. You know, I don't think it's like the lack of like wholesomeness is what's bugging me. It's just like, I don't know, it just feels like a Gooner game. You know, like it kind of just feels like that. And sure, I guess there's a place for that. There's also the moment where the first person shooter guy walked out on stage with a make first person shooters make FPSs better again or whatever, make them great again. Um, that's a thing, right? That's kind of like, I don't know. If I was Keighley, if I was producing that show, I'd be like, maybe take that hat off, dude. Maybe don't wear that hat. You know, we're kind of in trying times right now. I don't know. Maybe just don't wear that hat. I know you're like making a joke of this all, but like, I don't know, just take the hat off. You could still make the joke. I don't know, just lose the hat. But even the joke itself was stupid. And I don't know, there weren't like any bad moments of this show. I mean, that was probably the worst awkward, weird moment of the show. But the show itself was fine. I thought Lucy James did a great job. Love, hats off, Lucy James. Great presenter. Love how everyone dressed up, you know. Kojima was there. I love the one of the producers of Mina the Hollower. Great dress, right? Great makeup, great hair, everything. Like everyone, I love seeing people in games showing up for their games. You know, let's dress up, let's present our games. I love that. That is special. That's one of the reasons why I love E3 as a whole. It's one of the reasons why I love the Game Awards. And I thought that this show represented that well, represented like the heart and the devs of these games. After the show was Day of the Devs, and that also like further emphasized that like, hey, these are people making these games. And Lucy James and Keighley themselves were like pointing out, and you know, it's a script, you know, but they were pointing out consistently that like, hey, there's 55 people working on this game. There's a studio under 100 people working on this game. And like, okay, that's cool, I guess. Felt a little weird that they were pointing that out with like every single game. I feel like ever since Expedition 33, it's like, now that's something we got to say. One person is making this game. 12 people are making this game. Let's just say like, hey, a bunch of cool people are making this game. Let's just let, you know, like, I don't know. I feel like it like plays a weird thing with our expectations. I don't think we need that. I don't think we need like that kind of like expectation where it's like, hey, don't get too, you know, excited about this game. It's just a couple of people making it, or like, you know, lower your expectations. Yeah, it looks like Sifu. Yeah, it looks cool. This is Axe of Blood, but it's just one person, right? So the animation's looking a little still. Like, I don't think it needs that. I think you just say, hey, here's a really cool video game by a really talented artist. And that's all we need to know. You know, I don't think we have to emphasize that, hey, here's two people that worked on this game. You know, and if you are going to do that, then have the creator of that game speak up. You know, have that creator of the game present that themselves. Like, hey, here's my vision for this game. You know, I made this game, and here's why I made it. You know, like, I don't know. Like, I didn't get a grasp of that. I didn't feel that. The way, like, when I watched the Xbox showcase from months prior, talking about Expedition 33, where they were like, here's our studio. Like, here's 30 of us. You know, this is us. This is our studio. Like, you feel like, oh, yeah. Like, all these dudes, they eat lunch together. Like, these guys are a team. You know, I didn't really feel that here. There was a lot of stuff. Like, I feel like the show just didn't quite know what it wanted to be. Did it want to be, like, a wholesome show about game devs? You know, prioritizing game devs? Did it want to be a show prioritizing, like, bigger game announcements with, like, RE and Street Fighter 6 Season 3 and Minecraft and Sonic and stuff like that? Does it want to be a show that's like trendy? Does it want to be a show that prioritizes indies? It's kind of just like all over the place. And I think that this year specifically reminds me why I kind of miss E3 a little bit, you know, because it wasn't up to a singular producer or producers of a show. It was like, here's PlayStation's vision for gaming. Here's Xbox's vision for gaming. What is Summer Game Fest? What is the vision of gaming here? Like, what are we trying to showcase here? It's tough. It's tough. I think when we have like a bigger show, a bigger budgeted show, like the Game Awards, it's like, here's some crazy shit that's coming out in a few years, dude. You know, here's Geno, you know, here's RGG's, oh my goodness gracious, dude. Stranger Than Heaven looks like one of the best games ever made. You know, like that's like future shit, you know? Let's do that. You know, that's the identity of our show, but then let's also show, you know, the Guacamelee devs next game. You know, and like I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but there's no pacing for that. It's like it's just kind of all over the place. It's a little all over the place. I feel like the show was just lacking vision. It was lacking proper curating. It was a little too long. It was a little too drawn out. There were moments where I was dipping my head. I live streamed the whole thing. You know, there were moments where I was just kind of nodding a little bit. And again, I don't want to be super judgmental because I'm thankful that shows like this exist. There were several games that weren't on my radar that are now on my radar. You know, there were several games where I'm like, oh, now I'm looking forward to this. And I'm not talking about Onimusha or Resident Evil 9 or, you know, I'm not talking about Sonic or whatever. I'm talking about like games that I wasn't thinking about and now I am. You know, games that I've never heard of and now I have heard of and it looks cool. The weird cat game, right? That weird, what was it? Into the Unwell? That was wild looking and cool looking. You know, I just feel like we were lacking a lot of that. There was literally a block in the middle of the show where it was just like, here's 8 anime gotcha games. Here's just 8 of those. We're going to show them back to back to back to back. It wasn't 8. It was probably like 3 or 4, but it was still like ridiculous. Like I couldn't even differentiate them. I couldn't even, are we looking at the previous game or a new game? I can't tell. I literally cannot tell. They showed like One Punch Man for a second. I'm like, is that for Weathering Waves? Is that for, what is this game? I don't even know what this game is. It's like, and there were like ad breaks and I couldn't even differentiate those from the show because the ad breaks felt like the same stuff that was in the show. You know, there's just like a lot of, it feels like a deluge of just game announcements after game announcements. And I do not like that. I'm not a fan of that. And like, you know, I know a lot of people have criticized the PlayStation State of Play or whatever, but I thought the State of Play had fucking fantastic pacing. The way they opened the show, the way they had like Sean Benson come out, you know, with the other guy and like, hey, here's a few games that are coming to PlayStation Network, or here's you know, like there was like this pacing bit where it's like, here are these games, here are these games. Oh, check this out. Here are these games. You know, like it felt like we had like clean breaks in between these things. There was no ad breaks or anything like that, but it just felt like there was chapters in that show. Whereas this, it's just like games everywhere. Just games. You know, here's a bunch of games. Take a bunch of games. Here's a big, you know, AAA game. Here's a game made by one person. Here's this. It just felt like all over the place. And it's like hard to keep track of. It's exactly how I predicted it to be. I talked about this in my last predictions video where this show is stressful. It's a stressful show. I'm thankful that it exists. I'm thankful. I'm so proud of Keighley and the work that he's put in, his producers, everyone involved. Kyle Bossman, one of my favorite streamers, great comedy writer. I'm sure he, you know, oomphed this show. Like, I'm not saying that the people that are working on this show are not, it's nothing like that. It's nothing like, oh, the people working on this aren't talented enough. I don't want to say that for a second. And I don't want to sound like I'm ungrateful. Like, again, Resident Evil 9, dude. Holy moly. You see Keighley get emotional for that at the end of the show. He knows. But at the same time, literally, while he's talking about Resident Evil 9, while he's about to reveal this game, he says, you guys waited long enough. Thank you guys for waiting. He says, you guys have been waiting. Meaning that, like, throughout this entire show, he's saying that, hey, you guys have been waiting for this announcement. Like, I don't know. I wasn't waiting for Resident Evil 9. You know, we're watching the show. Don't say that we've been waiting. You know, we're watching the show. I'm looking forward to a lot of the games that you're showing. You know, I don't know. It just feels a little weird. Feels like, yeah, we got all that stuff out of the way. Finally, here's Resident Evil 9. You know, when the Resident Evil 9 announcement came, I wasn't as, like, excited about it because the rest of the show just didn't have that flow. It didn't feel like all of it was leading up to this moment. It just kind of felt like, here's another one, you know, here's another game, you know, shoot. I don't know. I'm not like hugely disappointed. It's about where I thought it would be expectation wise. You know, obviously I was saying that Sega would have a big showing here with more than just Sonic Racers or whatever. I thought that they would show Jet Set Radio. We still have the Xbox saying, right, that is coming. That's a real thing that's coming. But I don't know, man. I kind of wish it was just had a little more flow. I was always hoping, like, I just feel like Game Awards last year was so fucking well done. The producers that, and I'm not talking about just like all the bombastic game reveals, right? Obviously, it was the 10th anniversary show. All of these devs and all these producers were like, hey, let's give Keighley his moment. Let's, support Keighley in his 10th anniversary show. Like that, it felt like that, right? But like also the show just had fucking good pacing. Just had really good pacing and really good highs and lows. And this show just had like a lot of lows. Here's a big high, lows. Here's a big high. It just kind of, it didn't have like a good flow. It didn't feel like it was up and down. It felt like it was up and down, and that's, I don't know. I kind of wanted more entertainment out of it and more, not excitement, just I wanted to be more entertained by the show and be able to enjoy it as it flowed. I think if you literally just edited the trailers around and moved them around, I think there's a way that you could have found a more entertaining show. But I also think you could have cut like 30 to 40 minutes from the show and it would have been more entertaining. That you cut like 12 or 16 of those weird anime games or one of those weird Mundfish games. Cut one of those out and I think you could have had a more entertaining show. Again, I don't want to sound ungrateful. Like, I love these shows. I love showcases. I love any Nintendo Direct, any state of play. I'm not going to say stinkers or winners here because it feels a little weird. Because, again, this is not like a company's vision. It doesn't feel like here's Sony saying, look what we got. Like, it's not like that. I will criticize Xbox show when they have it, because that's their vision. This is what they want to put forward. This is just Keighley getting sponsorships from a bunch of devs that want to show off their games, and I'm not going to sit here and shit on a bunch of devs that want to show off their game. And I think a lot of those games do look good. Even Atomic Heart 2, right? Like, holy fuck, dude, that game looks incredible. Yeah, it's got crotch shots and ass shots and sexy robots and it's anti-woke or whatever. But like, fuck, it looks awesome, right? And Ill, dude. I think Ill might be the best looking game I've ever seen. The weird, like, disgusting babies jaunting towards us. It's fucking terrifying, dude. Holy fuck, that's scary. And like, as long as there's like 3 or 4 games that I'm stoked about during a showcase, I'm good. I'm good, right? As long as there's like 3 or 4 games. As long as there's like 3 or 4 games that I'm like, hey, this looks really cool. I want to play that. There's 3 of those. There's 4 of those. There was probably like 6, honestly, at this showcase. That's enough for me. There were 6, and like 3 or 4 of them I never even have heard of until that day, until I watched the event. And that's enough. That is enough. It is. Yeah, the show's a C-, but there were cool games there. And again, I don't know. Maybe I had my expectations too high. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. I don't really know. It just felt like kind of a weird show. It just felt like kind of a weird show. Comment down below. Give me your thoughts on Summer Game Fest. What did you think about the whole shebang? What was your favorite game there? How did you feel about the pacing? Do you kind of get what I mean? Like, I'm not saying it was a terrible show. Like, if you love Atomic Heart and if you love like RE9 there, like, sure, I get that. Like, go for it. Like, yeah, I get why you would make this show a B+ or an A because those games were there. But like, really step back and like look at the show. How did you feel about the whole thing? Like, did it feel like you were just waiting until the big announcement at the end? Did it feel like that towards you? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. I appreciate you watching through this entire video. If you did, to the 8% of you that did, I truly greatly appreciate it. Thank you all. Thank you to all the new subscribers that are a part of this channel now. I truly appreciate you guys being a part of the show. I will be back, of course, for the Xbox show, talking about all that stuff, and I'll probably be making a video about RE9 and going more in depth on some of the games that were there. Lots of big announcements, lots of big shit, right? Sony had an incredible show. There's stuff that I got to talk about there. I will do like a winners and losers of all of Summer Game Fest or something like that. We will do that. Don't worry. But until then, and until next time, party on.